RFI.
Radio France Internationale. France's foreign ministry has called on Pakistan to free a young Christian girl held in custody on a charge of blasphemy. The girl, reported to have Down syndrome, could face the death penalty for having allegedly burnt pages inscribed with the verses from the Quran. The US State Department has also said it finds the case of Rimsha Masih deeply disturbing and called on the government to ensure the protection of women and girls. Rosalind Hyams discussed the case with a leading advocate of Pakistani origin who promotes a progressive approach to Islam. She's based in the United States and spoke to RFI from New York.
Irshad Manji, you are Professor of Leadership at New York University. Thank you very much for joining us. We're talking about a subject in Pakistan, and a young woman or a young girl, Rimsha, a Christian, in Islamabad is being charged with blasphemy. What was your reaction when you heard about this case?
In one word, ashamed. I don't use that word lightly, by the way. I am a faithful Muslim, a reform-minded Muslim, and I was sickened and utterly ashamed of my fellow Muslims. I didn't think that Pakistan could sink as low as it has, but to jail and threaten with the death penalty, not just an 11-year-old, but an 11-year-old who is reportedly stricken with Down syndrome, it not only made no sense to me, it just utterly made me nauseated. And I know that I'm not the only Muslim who feels this way.
The blasphemy law in Pakistan has been under debate in one way or another for some time. There has been a reform of that law on the table. There have been some rather unfortunate consequences of that debate, with ministers, for example, having been assassinated, people who have expressed support for this reform. Where are today, do you think, the Muslim community in Pakistan with regard to this law? Clearly, there's not just one idea about it.
No, you're quite right. There is not just one idea about it. The problem is that those who oppose it, who find it as absurd as many of us in the West would, are too afraid to go on the record. I've had a number of journalists tell me that in all of their efforts to find somebody who lives in Pakistan to come out and actually criticize the law is almost a mug's game. Because, of course, as you've rightly pointed out, those who do go public with criticisms of the law tend to be assassinated. And they can be very prominent figures as well, people who, have the best security around them. Former governor of Punjab, Salman Taseer, former Christian minister of minorities, Shahbaz Bhatti, both of them gunned down. And so a lot of people, especially ordinary people who would not have access to the kinds of protections that high-level politicians would, say to themselves, this is a suicide mission if I'm going to speak out against this law. You can see, therefore, why the radicals and the extremists have not just the upper hand, but frankly, sometimes the only hand in the promulgation of this law.
What do you think about the response of the Pakistani government so far? President Asif Ali Zardari has said that there will be an investigation. He's called on the Interior Minister to investigate this case and the arrest.
It's a start, but it's not enough, not by a long shot. After all, if the kind of fear I just described permeates Pakistani society, and it does, then what is the Home Minister going to do in order to pull back this charge against the 11-year-old girl? And if he does pull that charge back, how is he going to explain it in a way that won't, expose him thoroughly to the vigilantism, the hooliganism of religious extremists? I have a feeling that this debate, such as it is, about the blasphemy laws is coming to a head. And at some point very soon, the Pakistani people, and not just their politicians, are going to have to make a firm decision about whether they will strike down this law or replace it with something far less inhumane, or whether they will allow fear to be the ruler of the day in their country.
You're referring to the fact that it carries the death penalty.
That's right. And, of course, you need to be convicted, but the convictions can happen on the flimsiest of grounds. On rumors, for example, there is a farm worker, mother of 5, a Christian by the name of Asia Bibi, who since 2008, has been languishing in jail simply because she has been accused by people in her community of blaspheming. And what does that even mean? There is no actual case against her. And still, she has not been freed. Clearly this law is problematic in more ways than one.
Is it just a question of this law, or do you think there's some sort of a mindset that is crystallised in this law that Pakistan is somehow not able to deal with, and therefore the blasphemy law, for example, is used to settle disputes among people, is abused?
It's a great question, and I do believe that there is a wider mindset here. As most people listening to this interview would know, Pakistan is in a perpetual confrontation with India, which means that many of Pakistani people live with a kind of defensiveness that forces them to be divided between their own selves, meaning, on the one hand, wanting to be for progress, but then being accused by religious extremists for capitulating to India, for selling out the nation. And so there's a constant wall of defensiveness that stops good, open-hearted, big-minded Pakistanis from using their voices for social betterment because they know what kinds of accusations are coming their way when they do so. Nonetheless, I believe that those who are truly sick and tired of having their country go down the drain need to take that extra step of incurring backlash and social disapproval in order to say enough is enough, we are better than this, and I am speaking up precisely because I love my country, not because I despise it.
Irshad Manji, thank you very much for speaking to us today.
Thank you.